Welcome back to Still a Part of Us. We had, I feel like my heart's been dragged out of me and like just been through so much. And I am just so grateful that we were able to hear from Claire, the daughter of her daughter Paulie's birth story. And if I would highly encourage listening to it because it is something that I have never experienced before or heard anybody have gone through this. And so it really is astounding. Like, I think it's really quite astounding to hear what she went through. So welcome back, Claire. Thank you again for coming on and chatting with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. In a nutshell, would you mind telling us what happened to Paulie and just also give us a little bit of a reference? How long ago was she born so that we can know where you are at in this grief journey?
Mhm. So Polly was born February 3rd, 2024, and it is now May 11th, 2024, so
Mm-hmm.
about 3 months ago.
Yep.
Uh, the diagnosis of Polly's passing was shoulder dystocia, a severe case. It was a tragic accident, I would call it.
Yeah.
Um, Her head was delivered, and we could not get her out. She was delivered living. Her
Yeah.
heartbeat was 155 beats per minute. And she, yeah, we couldn't get her out in time. And it took 12 minutes. I think they said in total she was out of oxygen for about 16 minutes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It and unfortunately that is not enough time for there were Herculean efforts it felt like to get her out, to get you to a hospital, get you to a place where they could deliver her, but unfortunately she passed away at the hospital. And so please, I just highly recommend if you get a chance, please listen to the birth episode because it is so it's moving and it's powerful. Um,
Mhm.
so Claire, it has been only 3 months, and I thank you again for coming on for so soon, and also before Mother's Day. Honestly, that is a tricky one for a lot of us lost moms. But what has this last 3 months looked like since you had Polly cremated, had her funeral? How has your recovery been? How has the grief been? How has been raising Donnie in the midst of this been?
Mhm. I think the first week after Polly passed was definitely the hardest. In terms, not emotionally, mentally, it was more physically.
Yeah.
I had to be, I had a lot of stitches and I had to be walking on the stage essentially, an altar essentially up, and talking about my daughter at her funeral,
Hmm.
which is something I decided to do. But even sitting on like a hard pew,
Oh,
um, was, you know, cringing. Like it was the last thing I wanted to do. It was the last place I wanted to be. My body was completely different. Polly was 10 pounds and I was huge. And I wasn't my best self looks wise. And, physically, I wasn't my best self, fit wise, for lack of a better term. And then, since then, it really feels like it was last week that everything happened. I replay
yeah.
moments in my mind every single day still. And I think I will for a very long time just because it was so dramatic and traumatic. But I do think this month has been the hardest in terms of emotionally. So I'm hitting that like third month
Yep.
after. Um, all the dust has settled, the shock is kind of fading, and the realization of like everything that happened and everything I don't have is there now. And it's hit us both very hard, Kevin and I, my
Yeah.
husband and I, as well as my mother, who was present for the birth. We work together as well. And, you know, like we have this like unfailing connection. And this has, if anything, bonded us three. Like I do feel like my mother is a part of my my husband and my relationship.
Mm.
And it's beautiful and it's really horrible at the same time. And it's really like, when people say take it day by day, like it's really like I wake up in the morning and I decide if I'm going to have a good day or not mentally.
Yeah.
And if it's a not, like I will vent more that day, or I will write things down more that day, or I will spend more time with my son that day, because for me, seeing my son is like both triggering and the happiest I've ever been at the same time.
Yeah.
And yeah, my son, looked just like Paulie. So
Yeah.
I think that is hard. Pictures of my son around the house as a newborn is hard because it looks exactly like her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think pouring and constantly thinking of pouring myself into my son and my work and my husband has been the only thing that's kind of really held me together.
Mm.
Um, and just realizing all the good things I have, which is very cliche, but it is me consciously, like probably every hour, thinking, I have to be grateful for this. Look what I have. Like, this is great. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Doesn't heal me, doesn't fix it,
Mhm.
but it does make me think, okay, like I have this, right?
Yeah. I I think there was a couple things you said that really liked when you said in the morning I can see how I'm feeling and I will make a decision about how I need to process that. I just think that's fascinating that you do that. And
Mhm,
a good way to take out of a note from your book of just there's going to be days that are rough. There's
mhm,
and to make a decision of like, okay, how can I make this a little less of a sting? And deciding how you're going to do that, whether it's writing or whether that's spending a little bit more time with your family.
mhm.
Or like you said, venting a little bit because sometimes you just need a vent. That's all there is to it. You need a vent.
And I
Um,
find being very, very vocal about my needs to
mhm.
other people is so empowering. It makes me
Yes.
feel so much better. I literally say to somebody that I'm venting to, this is a time I just need you to listen right now. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Like, if you're not able to right now, but like, I need you. So, are you available? Like, and asking them. And it is relieving to
Yeah.
decide that it's going to be a bad day. Like, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, I'm okay then. I can feel these things whenever I want to today. Like,
Yeah. And I also want to just point out something that was super great and super obvious is that when, as a person that is grieving or going through something like this, you do need to be, I feel like it is hard for somebody that is wanting to help you. They want to help you and they just don't know how. And so for you to be clear of like, I just need you to be a listening ear right now, that
Mhm,
would be so helpful. And they know what role that they'll need to play. And it's a role that you've asked them to play and it's been needed and they're going to feel so happy that you gave them exact instructions on what they needed to do. So I just think that is brilliant to be very, like you said, it's empowering to you. And it's also, I think it's empowering to the person that is trying to help you to be
that's it.
what you need them to be at a moment that is maybe a little crucial in your day and how things turn
Mhm.
out, I guess. So
Yeah.
that was a nice insight, I think. So
Mhm,
um, I just want to recall that during this birth episode, that you had like 40 stitches. There was quick cutting opens and trying to, it was very traumatic to your body. And I'm assuming you took some time off from work because you work as an educator, a preschool educator. And that is very, I feel like it's probably quite active. And,
mhm.
I'm very difficult. I am just wondering if that is what you did, and I suspect maybe your mom did as well. I am not sure because that probably was quite traumatic as well because you guys, like you said, work hand in hand at this same Montessori school that you own. And so, how did that look, that transition to work, or are you at still at the point of not working? What is the best thing that has worked for you guys and your grief?
Right. So, as far as like during the day with my son, my
Mm-hmm.
toddler at the time,
Mm-hmm.
um, I didn't have very much support during the days if my husband was working.
Right.
We decided, um, kind of during the first week after, we would take the week off, both of us, and then decide what we would feel on the Sunday after the funeral.
Okay.
Um, and we just spent the first 3 weeks together as a family. My mom went back to work after the first week,
Okay.
and she was kind of in and out of our house. We live right down the street from where my mom and I both work, so it worked out that she was able to just come over, and she has a very flexible position at the school.
Mm-hmm.
She's the director, so she doesn't necessarily need to be counted into the numbers of the ratios, teacher to
Right.
child.
Mm-hmm.
So she was able to come over and she lived with us actually for like the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I was getting to the point where I felt like I needed normalcy so badly. I needed, because I kind of felt like I was still pregnant. I was recovering and I was really tired. And that's kind of how I felt at the end of my pregnancy. And it was paining me that I couldn't get up off the couch to help with my son or even change his diaper. I felt like
Mm-hmm.
useless and I felt like watching him run around, and he's so used to me running around with him, even at like 10 months pregnant as I
Yeah.
was, running around and like being very active with him. I wasn't able to do that. And he was clearly like loving dad at that moment, like, during that time. So I felt like as soon as I'm physically like okay to get up and walking, I want to go back to work and whatever position I'm needed in. I was supposed to be on maternity leave, so I didn't really have a position there for me. So I
Yeah.
could really do whatever I wanted if I was to
Right.
go back. Um, and with my job, like I didn't think of it as something to be triggering for me. Now I'm kind of looking at it a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
But then, 3 weeks after Polly's passing, I decided to go back, full time. Like I worked like 7 to 4, and I just enjoyed my time with my son there. And
Yeah.
I felt like I would be enjoying my time with my son at home
Yeah.
without Kevin anyways. So this way I get help as well. Like
Yeah.
there's like all those women there who love him, and they would just whisk him away, and they are so great. They're so loving towards me and my family.
Yeah.
They wanted to help us. That's all they wanted.
Yeah.
Um, so they were so like, great for me and my son mentally and emotionally. Um, I was lucky enough to be in that position. I couldn't imagine having to go back to say an office job or somewhere being away from my son. I had a strong feeling at one point that my son was going to pass away too.
Oh,
Um, so I wanted to be near him.
yes.
Yeah, that is still kind of there.
Yeah.
Um, that's been probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I didn't say this, but going to the funeral, the day before the funeral,
Mm-hmm.
I had went for an ultrasound early in the morning because I had an infection
Oh.
in the uterus.
Oh. You.
Yeah,
Ah. Are
it
you
really felt
serious?
like the world was kicking me when I was down. That's really what it felt like.
Oh
And
my
the day
gosh.
before the funeral, I went for an ultrasound to make sure, like the antibiotics were working and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was severe hemorrhaging. So I rushed to the hospital, and an OB cleared me and just said, it's normal hemorrhaging. It's not like,
Okay.
something like, that
E-
we need
ex-
to take care of right now. And then they said that it was like a giant blood clot ready to come out. So it will probably come out in the next few weeks. And of course, the day of the funeral, it like came out. And I felt like I had to deliver the
uh,
clot.
uh,
It's horrible.
that is horrible. I didn't. Oh my
Yeah, that
gosh.
was another part of it too. And I always said, when I'm physically healed, then I can start my emotional and mental healing.
Yeah.
And so I think work helped me stay active.
Yeah.
And so that the healing process, they always say like, rest and all that. For me, I felt like I healed better when I was staying active. The clots were able to come out
To
faster.
move. Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so once all that was kind of finished, I've been working since
Hmm.
every day, and I do feel like I'm glad I did that. Not a lot of people would say that, probably.
Yeah,
I know like a few people now that I've talked to have, they laid in bed for weeks on end and that's all they could do. And
yeah.
like, mentally, I never really felt the need to do that. That
Hmm.
wasn't the need for me, but I can totally see how that might be a real need.
Hmm.
And I totally accept that as well.
Yeah. I know that's it is all dependent on what you yourself needs, and I I felt a very strong need for a semblance of normalcy as well afterward.
Mhm.
And so we did take some time. I think I went back to work after 5 weeks at a natural time. I think it was after Labor Day, so it kind of just made sense to be like, okay, our daughter's going back to school, and it was a natural, like, okay, this is a good rhythm to be in, and it does help with getting, yeah, starting the healing process, like really really in the right direction, I feel like. So normalcy
Mhm.
does, I would say, helps a lot actually.
Mhm.
um
And I think like with my job, it helped to get immediate gratification from something. So
yes.
if a child was having trouble coming in the morning, they were really, emotionally exhausting themselves, I would feel so much purpose
Yeah.
getting that child to just feel comfortable during the
Yeah.
day. And it was so, like, I was so happy to share that with the parents that cried for like this long, but honestly had the most amazing day. He was such a trooper.
Yeah.
He did this, he did that, and seeing their relief and like, oh my gosh, thank you, Claire. Like, just so much like,
Hmm.
it's their world that I'm talking about. And that was so healing for me.
Yeah, it was very gratifying. Yes.
Hmm.
And you also mentioned that Kevin sounded like that he went back to work pretty quickly as well. Would you
Yeah,
say?
I think Kevin's the type of person he can't sit around.
Hmm.
He loves working. He It's one of the reasons why I really love him and I
Hmm.
gravitate towards him. I feel the same. Um and he is definitely like, to equate him, he's like a provider. Like he
Yes.
and I'm the same way. Like we're
Yeah.
both like all about like our future and our plans, and he definitely is like a name at work, and it was hard for him to go back the first week. I think I kind of pushed us both to go back,
Mm.
because I was like, I'm like physically okay. Like I can't sit around any longer. I did enough sitting around during my pregnancy at the end,
Yeah.
and just like I need to do something. And when I kept saying that, Kevin was like, yeah, I want to go back as well. So the
Okay.
first week was really hard for him, but I think he's happy he went back as well that early.
Okay. Yeah, because I know, once again, everybody's a little bit different on how they process things, and it feels like when I talk to when we hear some of the dad episodes, that when they come on and they say, I just needed to get to work. Like they
Mm.
wanted to be busy doing something. I don't know. It's just interesting that they needed to keep working, or doing
Mm.
something to keep busy, not necessarily to take their mind off of it, but just to be doing something. And so,
I definitely believe that like distraction was created
mhm.
purposefully. I
Yeah,
feel like really, I think escaping in your mind or getting distracted and focusing on something else.
yeah,
Um, I'm like really happy that, our brain, we only use like, as they say, we only use like 10% of it. I'm
yeah,
very happy for that.
yeah.
I don't think I'd be able to cope otherwise. I think it is a coping mechanism, but it's not a bad thing.
No, I don't think so either.
Um, you can never forget,
Yeah,
but it's definitely like helpful to distract yourself.
yeah. Because your
Or,
brain needs a break, honestly. It just, like, it can only take so much of that grief and that sadness. It needs a break. And unfortunately you can give it a break or else it will break down. And so
Yes.
yes, it's good to have a distraction or something else to focus on. Like you said, to do something for a child in order for them to feel comfortable at school, and so
Yeah.
that you can have that kind of something that you can tell the parents, and that's also a different way of contributing. So how I know Donnie's very young, your son.
Yeah.
How has he I know he was so tender at the hospital when he met Paulie, but how has he related to her since then?
We taught him actually, because he was kind of doing it already. But anytime we would say Polly's name,
Mhm.
um, like I would say, like, I don't know, like if this was just a me trying to heal through him, but I would say, "Where is Polly?" to him, and he went like this. So literally every time we say her name or ask where she is, he says that she's in his heart.
Yeah,
And
that's so sweet.
Kevin made a beautiful, he's a carpenter, so he made a beautiful like a little shadow box
Mhm.
for Polly, and it's right outside of our room, our bedroom, and outside of Donnie's bedroom as well. And
Mhm.
he sees it every day, and there's her picture and from the obituary in there. And he we put her ashes in a little boot,
Oh,
so he has Polly's shoe.
oh, cute.
Um, and it's just been beautiful to see, yeah, like you said, in the last recording, that like children know in a way. And Donnie, I find, is very in tune with other people's emotions now.
Mhm.
Whereas I don't know if it was just the age or I just never saw it before, but he knows when somebody's crying to give them a hug and
Oh,
to kiss them. Like he'll kiss Kevin's mom and my mom. Like he'll come up right to me if I'm tearing up. Even he'll know.
oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, and other children as well when they're crying. Like it's it's beautiful. And obviously, like in this situation, he is probably hasn't really seen daddy cry, myself, like, granny cry.
Mhm.
And he's like, comfortable with that. And I'm like proud and sad about that at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's very in tune with other people's emotions now.
Yeah. A nice little a little silver lining of all this. He's gonna be a bit more in tune and empathetic with a lot of people, I think, because of
Mhm.
that. That's a nice gift from Polly, I think.
Yeah.
So I realize, like I said, it's only been 3 months. I'm wondering if what have people done or said that has been so helpful? Something that you maybe wanted to point out that was something somebody else that might be like, how can I help? How can I help? Is there anything that was outstanding that you wanted to point out just so that others could take a note and maybe do something for somebody that's is experiencing a loss like we have?
hmm with the toddler every day, like sometimes I sacrifice and I make the decision, am I going to cook a meal
Mm,
or am I going to let him have fun right now? Like, and it's for me anyway, it was always like I'm going to let Kevin make it tonight and then I'm just going to have fun with him
yeah.
because it never, the two could never happen at the same time, it felt like.
There's
Um,
too much going.
so
Toddlers are
for,
busy.
yeah, the whole community banded together and did a meal train for us.
Oh my goodness.
Um,
Yeah.
it lasted for like a month and a half.
Oh my goodness.
Every
That's
single night
amazing.
we
That's
got a
amazing.
meal. And
Wow.
some people were saying, like my friends started the meal train, so they didn't want to like overstep and start something that I didn't want. But
Yeah.
what was happening was the first day, like even like the week after, people were bringing in meals and we wouldn't be able to finish them all in time. Like
Yeah.
we wouldn't freeze them. And so, yeah, like, and it was wonderful, but it was kind of like oh shoot, we already have a meal and
Yeah.
there's like three more coming or
Y-
whatever.
Yeah.
So to organize so that people
Yes.
can find a way to help and support was fabulous, I thought. It might be kind of like, mundane, but I think it's something that sticks with me. And all the people I know who delivered the meals, it was on the app and everything. So that just, I will be forever thankful for those people.
Yeah.
And then I just try to think anyone who's like reached out, and told their story to me, I think that is huge because I sometimes get the feeling like I want to reach out to a random person who's been through the same thing,
Yeah.
and I want to tell my story to them and not feel like I'm triggering them or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to put my sadness on them. That's helped. People that do things for me that I could care less to think about, like my friend Emma, she like, bought me postpartum diapers, and my friend Alexis did the same, and she just dropped it off at my door, and that was that. Or, you know, even like bringing over something and being there to just listen and chat. And like, I love laughter and I'm a very positive person. I feel changed now. I feel like it's harder for me to see the positive in everything. So for someone to come in and, talk about Polly openly to me,
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of people that's going to work for.
Yeah.
So it's not something that I would recommend doing, but I definitely think to ignore and talk about other things is worse for me than bringing it up and saying, not, are you okay? But like, really saying like, I loved your pregnant belly. Like, I I wish Polly was here with us. I wish she was able to experience how amazing you are or whatever. Even a line like that, just like I'll think about for the rest of the week. Like,
Yeah.
honestly.
I agree. Like there's those very thoughtful things to bring up your child and not be ignored, of course. Yeah. Like that is for one thing that don't ignore it. And just to talk about that, it's just like, yeah, you wish that they were here. And we
Hmm.
do like I can't emphasize that enough, but you're right. Think about things my sister-in-law said to me, and I was like, "Thank
Hmm.
you, thank you for sending me that text message,"
Yeah.
and those make the biggest difference to me, even though, yeah, you don't know how big of a difference it is. So, uh,
Another thing I was going to mention was anyone who reached out or gave something to me or, talked to me after all the dust settled, like 2 months after, receiving a gift at that time
yeah,
was more profound, I feel like, than when I got a gift in the first week.
yeah,
Um, I definitely think like, you know, people they might not forget. They could say that they don't forget, but to me, when I look at the world and the people around me, like it's almost like something horrible literally just happened in a minute. And then somebody just goes on and talks about how their grocery list was like,
yeah,
super long this week and it was took a lot of money out of their bank. And I'm like, gosh, like, don't you know what happened? Like, did you not just see that? Like, that's what I think in my mind the minute they start saying anything.
yeah.
However, no one can really say the right thing too.
Hmm.
So I do pick apart what people say at this time. But when somebody gives me a gift out of the blue after 2 months or 3 months of this happening, it means the world to me that somebody was like, I see you.
Yeah,
Um, it's still there for you and it'll
yeah,
never go away.
yeah. Because, like you said, you are a changed person, and that was one of the hardest things for me, I think, is that after that everything happened for us, yes, there's that first month, the first little bit, it was we had a lot of care and attention. And then it feels like you said, the dust settles and people move on. They
Mhm.
they move on and they forget that you're walking around as a different person with a whole new set of outlook on life and baggage and trauma and all of the
Mhm.
things. And yes, to get a card, a gift, a a phone call just to acknowledge that you're not alone. You haven't been left behind. Just yeah, we that you see is you are seen is so extremely impactful. Like it's huge.
Mhm.
I
Yeah, absolutely.
think it's yeah.
Especially around Mother's Day, like,
Yeah.
you would know how I'm feeling or whatever, but somebody who I've known, like, and they see me every day. And to be honest, I really do put on a face. Like, I'm gonna go and like bawl my eyes out after this. But
Yeah.
Kevin and I like melt into each other at the end of the night, and all those things that people don't see as soon as like, we're racing home to get to each other and just to be me again,
Mhm.
and feel all the feelings that I feel. People don't see that. And so they're like, oh, she's good. Like,
Yeah. She's
she's
fine. Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
I'm the weakest person in the room. I really am. I'm down on my knees, like they were cut out from me.
Mhm.
So it's when somebody does that, like so inconspicuously as well,
Yeah.
doesn't make a scene. One of the parents at my school just like dropped off her child one day, and just handed me a card, and it was actually to a flower place, a gift card in there to a
Oh.
flower place. And it's not just flowers. There's like tree planting and all that.
Oh.
To
Yeah.
plant a tree or something for Paulie
Yeah.
in the yard of the preschool, she was thinking. I just thought, and it was like
Oh.
2 months after, and I was
Oh.
like, thank you for you. Like that really saved me in that at that day, especially that day was really hard for me. There was like three pregnancy announcements at work, and I'm working currently with like two different pregnant people,
Yeah.
and that like one of them has just gone on maternity leave, and so there was three, and now I'm working with two of them.
Yeah.
I feel like it's unfair of me to project any sort of negative feelings around their pregnancy. And at the same time, I'm like, I have a right to do anything right now.
Yeah.
So it's a very conflicting feeling working. And I got this beautiful little card from somebody who knows, you know?
That is beautiful. That's that's beautiful. And I love it when people are just in tune with and they just do it at the right time. Like it's
Mhm.
amazing how people are
Mhm.
guided to do things at the right time when when we need
Yeah.
them the most, I feel like.
I thought in my head, she must have lost somebody because, nobody understands
Yeah.
that need for the continued support,
Yeah.
as much as someone who has lost.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's exactly it. Claire, on the other hand, I am wondering if there are some things that people have said or done that you would maybe not recommend
Mm.
um, that they say or do, or things that maybe just rub you the wrong way, just so that people can make a note. Also, I think that's always good just to be aware that everybody's different, but there are a few things that seems to be a common theme. So I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on anything that you would maybe not recommend people saying.
Hmm. So as I said, like, picking things apart that people say and do too. I'm at that stage in my grief where I don't get why everyone else gets a guaranteed baby at the end of this. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And it's I've become kind of rude in my head. Like I don't normally think these things about people. I could care less, do what you want to do. But am at that stage right now. And to anybody who's watching someone go through something like this, it's a really sensitive period, that whole first year probably. I don't know further than 3 months, but some things that has specifically rung out of my mind was someone saying to me, the good thing about that can come out from all of this is, you can do it again. Pregnancy and birth is something that you can do it again. And that really was a sucker punch, knowing that I if Polly was 4, would it be the same thing said to you?
Yeah.
You can do it again.
Yeah.
Well, Polly was a life.
Yeah.
So Paulie was a person.
Mhm.
She was a person to me. I knew so much about her and have carried her and gave so much to her.
Mhm.
We both gave so much to each other because she was so strong and tried to be here and fought so hard. And so did I. I wanted her here. Like I'm that is not something you say to someone who's craving that person
Yeah.
to be there in the flesh. Like you do not say something like that.
Yeah. And I like
It's
I
not
like you
true.
I like how you said would you say that if she was 4 or 12 or do you know you just I think people think that it's like a pair of flip-flops that you can get at the Target. It's not. I mean, like this is a child that is you are so very close to and
Mhm.
and you are
When you,
not. Yeah.
yeah, like I love the sentiment that when you decide to have a baby, you are a mother because it never rings so true to me as right now. Like I believe fully that like that's part of like, this whole advice column is like don't talk about things that you don't know the details about or, some people who didn't know my story fully, all they heard was it was complications with the birth. So, she could have had something wrong with her or,
Mhm.
not been able to survive out here. She was a stillbirth and I had to birth her that way, which was so traumatic as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's not the
I don't
case at
know.
all.
It, yeah, I can't know what that feels like, knowing that the baby inside you doesn't have a heartbeat. I don't
Yeah.
know what that feels like. My baby was in every way healthy and alive. And the
Yes.
word stillbirth had triggered me throughout the last 3 months. It still does.
Yeah.
I will, in my response to that, say, um, it she wasn't still.
Yeah.
She was beating, she was pulsing, she was
She
kicking.
was kicking.
She was,
Exactly.
she was like alive and she was just the same as Donnie walking around, my son walking around.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the loss that I feel. And so I don't even love the term stillbirth for someone who experienced stillbirth.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really don't
It's not great.
because I really feel strong about that because in I did make a statement as I said at the funeral and I listed off a whole bunch of things that she loved. I listed off a whole bunch of things she didn't like. I I was able to I could have talked for hours about her and my pregnancy with her and how different it was from my pregnancy with Donnie, all the things I noticed more with her. She was a presence and I feel like, that needed to be known. And for someone to just chalk it up and say, like, oh,
Yeah.
do it again, it kills me, like, to
Yeah.
hear that.
Yeah. It's yeah. They're so yeah.
Yeah.
When she is your daughter,
Mhm.
and is an individual in your family and an individual in yeah. It just yeah. It's frustrating. It's so frustrating when people say that. So I would agree with you on that.
Another thing that I just thought of that I am dealing with this right now
Hmm.
because it was said to me very recently. So, I was talking and I know I have, like, unfortunately, I have a lot of pregnant women in my life. I'm
Hmm.
kind of at that age where, all my
Yeah.
friends and people around me are having children and, having like perfectly fine births and little
Right.
girls. And it's like, I think I counted 10 after me this year.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
that's how many I have. And one of those pregnant people said to me, sorry, I'm putting them on the spot, but just something that they should probably know too, that it made me cry. And I don't cry at work or anything. Like I save it for my my own time,
Yeah.
which I shouldn't be doing, but I'm doing. Um, it was said that they're upset because they already have a little toddler boy and they've decided after this baby that they will never have another child. So they're only wanting to have two. And they said that she found out it was a boy. And I've never quite understood gender disappointment. I understand it's a real thing. I
Yeah.
understand there's real feelings behind that.
Yeah.
After this, I really don't understand it.
Yeah.
Um, so, FYI, if you're talking to somebody who's like dealing with something like this sentence should never be said. But, you know, she was talking about how her and her husband are quoting her, grieving the loss of a daughter because they found out it was a boy and they'll never
Oh,
have a daughter. They'll never be able to walk her down the aisle and they'll never be able to put ponies in her hair. And I just thought, what are you saying? And who are you saying it to? Like, I am living that right now. Like,
oh,
because I had an actual daughter, like, but then that makes me feel, they're so ignorant to the feelings I have because they really don't understand. And that was somebody too that I
oh,
really thought would understand,
yeah.
being that they're pregnant and they have somebody else, like they have a son. And,
Yeah.
knowing how that would feel. Like,
y- Yeah.
I just, like, you're guaranteed this baby is coming home with you,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's probably not going to happen to you that you
Yeah.
won't get to bring this baby home. To
Oh,
me, at least, please be thankful for your
s-
children.
yes. Regardless of, yeah, yeah, that is unfortunate. I have never heard that before. Wow.
Yeah, I think I've told so many people except for that person of how hard that was to hear from me. And what I said in response was, I don't even know how I held myself together during that conversation, to be honest, because now I'm thinking I'm so angry. I'm frustrated. I'm not talking to that person again for a while. I don't know. And
Yeah.
at the same time, it's unfair to judge them for anything that they're saying to me because they don't know how it feels. So
Yeah.
how can they judge what they're going to say?
Yeah.
But just for, the viewers, and
Yeah.
I just think, yeah, I kind of lost train of thought what I was going to say, but yeah, that wasn't a
Um,
nice thing to say.
that's, yeah. Oh, that's rough. Yeah. I haven't heard that before. And I'm just flabbergasted. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one day I'll let her know how hard that really hit me.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say my response to her
Oh, yes. Yes.
was very hard to come up with in the moment. I was shocked at the statement. And then
Yeah.
I said, I think one day, like, when you see your two little boys running around together and like that's the part I miss the most. Like my son was robbed. Okay? Like he really was of a sister. And her little boy is going to have a sibling, like running around.
Yeah.
I said, you won't be unhappy about that.
You'll
Like,
be,
there's not one part of you that's going to be feeling that way.
yeah.
So, you know, it doesn't matter the things that you're talking about. And you're going to realize that later.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, but it's true. Like, freaking wish that this didn't happen and that, my son, like, I can't, I would give my life to know that my son has his sibling here.
Hmm.
I know she's technically in a better place, but I feel like there wasn't any better place than in my arms because I would have given everything to her.
Yeah. And
So
you're,
for someone to say that about someone they haven't even lost, like grieving a loss of a daughter when they haven't actually lost a daughter, like,
yeah.
ugh,
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't like that a lot. That's not great. Don't say that. Um, yeah, just be grateful that because you said this, and this is a sentiment I have as well, that getting children here is like a miracle. Like getting children here, because our son passed away. He was stillborn at 38 weeks, and you're just like, oh yeah, it's totally guaranteed, right? It's totally gonna. And Paulie 41 weeks. Oh yeah, it's a guarantee. She's totally no. no, it's a miracle that
Hmm.
these babies get here. Um, Claire, thank you so very much. This has been enlightening, and I am incredibly sorry about Paulie, and I just the love that you have for her is so evident in your conversation about her and about your family, and it has been such a pleasure to talk to you. I am wondering if you have any last advice or any things that you'd like to say about her, or anything that you would like to share advice wise to our listeners and our viewers.
I actually wrote something for this just
Wonderful.
to send it off.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure where it will fit in the podcast in a way, but I do think this is kind of like the last thing I would like to say. I find myself very angry at the world. And the truth of it all is that I will sit there and pick apart almost anything anyone is going to say or anyone that I come in contact with because of something they said or something they are doing. But one of my best friends, Emma, told me that people who don't understand and who are ignorant are the lucky ones. They're lucky enough that this will probably never happen to them, and therefore they can be ignorant to whatever it will feel like. And my response to that is me being the quote unquote unlucky one. I can be a shield and a light for those who are going through something unimaginable. And that's, I'm taking everything as in Polly gave me that gift. And another gift that she gave me, as I mentioned before, is time to spend to love on her brother, time to be there for my husband. And although I did not want this gift, and I would do anything to bring my girl back down from the sky, I will accept it and I'll have to accept it. And that's how I will continue to love her.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you again, Claire, again for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. And I'm so happy to be, giving purpose to my story and to be able to tell it again is absolutely so healing. I definitely beg people to share their stories because you never know when someone needed to relate in that moment.
Yes. Yes. Thank you again.